Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Messages. Today, I am talking to you all about alignment. This is something that has been very present and alive in my world and in the conversations that I'm having with a lot of different people. And so I wanted to bring it to you as well. So before I fully unpack this, let's start with the definition. You know how much I love doing that in these episodes. So when you look up alignment in the dictionary, it says the proper positioning or state of adjustment of parts in relation to each other. So in the context of this conversation, what I mean by alignment has everything to do with your soul, with the highest aspect of self in any given moment. It doesn't matter so much what is happening. It is more about the presence of your higher self, the relationship to the higher self in any particular moment. It could be anything that you have. It could be a relational experience. It could be a career move. It could be a self-care day. Doesn't matter. Alignment has to do with the connectivity, being on the same frequency and wavelength as your soul, as your higher self, as the highest expression of you. So anytime you hear me say alignment, you immediately want to go to, connection to soul, letting soul lead, letting the soul guide, letting that be the front and center, not all of the other funkiness that we have to deal with in these human bodies. You really want this core aspect of self to be guiding you, leading you, and present in your life in the most dominant way, right? You don't want your shadow self running the show. You don't want your ego running the show. You don't want your wounds to be running the show, because that's going to carry you out of alignment because you're not listening to the soul. And I've discussed this in previous episodes where the farther you drift away from your soul, the farther you get, the more pain you will be in. And the reason why pain exists is to pull you back into alignment. As soon as you feel pain or some type of disturbance in the field, let's say, it brings you back and it gives you the information and therefore opportunity to get back into alignment. That's what we're all doing here. If you are fully aligned with yourself, you're going to feel the most optimal. You're just going to have the most optimal human experience that you can possibly imagine. Now, don't get it twisted. You can't go into this expecting yourself to be in that state 24/7. It's impossible. We've talked about this before. If you didn't have any type of duality, you wouldn't need a body. So don't take a bad mood or a bad day as an indication that something is wrong. It's just information for you to course correct as you're on your path. So in my experience, there are two big indicators of misalignment. The first one is pain, obviously, and the second would be stagnation or resistance. So if something is misaligned, I will personally feel a lot of resistance to doing the thing. I'll be like, nope. And it's a very distinct brand of resistance. This isn't something where I'm nervous. That's not resistance. This is a full body. I have absolutely no desire to act on this in this moment. This does not feel right to me. There's more of a soul-led intelligence, again, that is compelling me to stop this thing. This is very difficult to discern when you're in the middle of a lot of trauma. The wisdom and guidance is still there. So let me put it this way. When you're in trauma, when you're working through a lot of that, when you're shedding a lot of layers, when you're moving through heavy wounding, that is guidance. That is the correct move. Your soul is leading you to do that. Okay? The healing work can be soul-led. So you're still in guidance, you're still in flow, even if there's a lot of pain, even if there's a lot of triggers coming up. It's just kind of a shit show there for a while when you're in the thick of it. Where you start getting really, really defined and focused is when you're able to move a lot of that out, right? You release a lot of that. And then what emerges from there is more of a clarity in vision, clarity in feeling, so that you're able to feel into your alignment faster. So once you get past the point of the trauma fog, let's say, then you're in a really good position to start shifting into alignment very quickly. Course correction becomes easy because you're out of that fog. The fogginess is what throws a wrench into things. So after that, then it becomes very easy to discern where your inner child is hurting, right? When the appropriate moment is to hold yourself, to ask for some support, to receive the things that you need, to nurture yourself, to give to yourself. That is just a clear right next move when there's a trigger coming up, okay? Then there's the other piece of it where it's a no-go zone, where it's the, nope, you need to adjust yourself, this isn't quite right. And then it flows like nothing else. Then it just becomes so easy, so effortless, and all of a sudden alignment becomes the priority. Whereas before it felt like this far-fetched thing or just this moment in time that would slip through your fingers. Then all of a sudden it becomes your prioritized state of being, and then the game changes. Alignment is the sauce. And when you're in that deep alignment, you're never going to go wrong. Because when you think about, okay, alignment, connection to your soul is the fragment of God, okay? The fragment of all that is, the fragment of your creatorship, your point of expansion. And when that becomes how you receive, how you move through the world, things happen very, very quickly. The unfolding and expansion just explodes from that space because you're fully embracing that aspect of self. So let me give you a personal example of this. And in my experience with where I'm at now in my life and in this journey, this unfolding path, and with my own experience with alignment, I do not have the benefit of just flying under the radar. So I don't get away with having sloppy energy. It's something where when something is not correct, when something is not right, it is so clear, it is so evident. I do not get a free pass at all when it comes to energetic work. And when something isn't right in my business, when something isn't right in my relationships and whatever is going on, the misalignment and let's just say the wrongness of it is too evident to ignore. It is glaring at me. So when something isn't right, I have no choice but to get back into alignment because it's like a giant stain that I can't look away from. And not only that, but when you're practicing being in alignment and making aligned moves and living your life from that space, as soon as something isn't right, you will get the negative consequences aren't delayed. They're immediate. So whereas before, this was years ago, I could function, like things would be okay when I made misaligned moves or when I was continuing to do something past the point of wanting to. Everything continued to run smoothly. Now, that is not the case at all. I can't get away with it anymore. So just be warned that you can't get away with your shit once you start doing this work. You just can't. The old stuff will wear out quickly. The things that you were doing before that really didn't serve you, oh yeah, they're going to be clear. Your soul will let you know. It'll be like, get your ass back in this seat. And so that is really what has been happening, particularly for me in 2021. I've been noticing this more and more, and the demand for my energy to be at its best, at its strongest, at its most potent has been very high. The standard that I've had to hold myself to is very, very high. So some of you might know that I launched a few things in 2021, and what you don't know is that a lot of those things completely bombed from my misalignment. Now, I want to be clear, when I say something bombs, that has nothing to do with money. A lot of my experiences that I had in early 2021, I was doing fantastic financially, but when it came to my level of satisfaction in work, something was way, way, way off. My one-on-one work, absolutely stellar, fantastic. My one-on-one container is, I would say, my biggest strength. One-on-one work is just what I was pretty much born to do. Like, I came out of the womb ready to guide people and counsel. That was just super easy for me. It's effortless, biggest strength by far. But when it came to running programs, which is something that I really love doing, I love holding containers for people and running programs and doing master classes and workshops and things of this nature. I had a lot of blind spots around what I was doing that was screwing up the energy. And so it took me a few times where I was like, why isn't this coming together? There's something so strange about this, and I could not pinpoint what was going on. So let me give you a little bit of context of what my process is with all of this. Now, if you are familiar with human design, I have all my upper chakras totally open in my system. So that means that I am constantly receiving inspiration. Everything around me, I have so many ideas, I cannot even contain them all. You should see the note section in my phone. It is erupting with ideas. Ideas. I have so many ideas for myself, for other people, for businesses, I mean, endless ideas. I have to give it away half the time because there's no way that I would be able to act on all of this inspiration. It's impossible. I can't do it. There's so many things that I could do, but I'm one person, so I can't. The other thing that has really tripped me up, I didn't even know this was a thing until, let's say, the last month or so. And when some of you hear this, you're going to be like, that is the most bizarre problem to have. But it really was revealing itself to actually be an issue for me, which is when you have a lot of skills, or when you have that jack of all trades, like you can just pick things up really easily. Things just kind of come naturally to you. You're good at a lot of things. You have skills that you can pick up easily. I'm like that. I don't have to try very hard. Things come easily to me. I get into mastery really quickly. I master it and then I move on. I master it and then I move on. I master it and then I move on. Okay? That's just my style. So over the course of my lifetime, I've developed all of these skills and I have all of these things that I'm good at. Where I was fucking up is I would think, well, I'm good at it, so I should offer it to the world. And oh my goodness, is this a mistake? This is a complete and total mistake. Because what ended up happening is I would say, well, I'm good at this, so why don't I create a container for it? Or I'm a natural at this, so why don't I just put it in pretty packaging and then, bring people into the container. It'll be of service. I had this all wrong. It wasn't actually of service to my audience. It was not actually helping me in any way, shape, or form. What it was doing is actually bogging down my creativity. Because if you go through the laundry list of everything that I'm good at and that I can offer, I'm actually just going to be slowed down by the fact that I can do it rather than I want to do it. So let me take you through this discovery really quick. In January of 2021, I launched Lux Magnetism, which was a program, an intensive program that I ran in February. I was so obsessed with that concept and that style and that work. I could not get enough. I was in love with it. It was so alive for me. It's what I wanted to do with my own energy, and it was perfect. It was everything that I wanted. And when I launched that, the response was huge. I got DM after DM after DM after DM of people wanting in that program, which was really awesome. And that is what showed me early on. The level of interest in that container showed me that, yes, this is the right move, because I'm super into it. The people are super into it. And the results that came from that were really, really kick-ass, just in terms of the transformation that was created in that container from, the people who were inside. So that was really cool. That was my first taste of really working with my sacral energy in terms of work, like pretty much exclusively coming off of sacral energy. This is what I want to do. This is what feels good. This is what feels right. Yeah, I'm super into this. This is really yummy. Let's go for it. That was my first time going all in on that energetic. At the same time that I was running Lux Magnetism, I was in the middle of that program, I was also transitioning the type of one-on-one work that I was doing. So the context, the type of clients that I was working with really changed early 2021. The level of work that I wanted to do was a lot different. I was really transitioning out of holding space for healing transformations and shifting into optimization. And that's really my passion at my core is not just being a guide, but really molding people into being superhuman. Like, that is my gift. That is what I have a vision for. That's what I have a knack for. But the other desire of my heart when it came to the work that I wanted to do was I really, really, really love doing master classes. And this is something that I have wanted to do and do really well for a long time. So eventually, I think this was maybe end of February, early March. I can't remember the exact time. But I got this big download for what I ended up calling the Mystery Collective. And I had all of these topics, all of these things that I am really, really familiar with, that I know all about, that I could easily do lectures on, I could easily do transmissions on, okay? But the place where I fucked up energetically, and the reason why that did not work for me, is because I created from a place of, I'm good at this and I can do it. I came from the place of, well, this is easy for me and I have a lot of wisdom on these things, so this is what I'll offer. Wrong. This is the wrong approach. At the time, I didn't know this. I had no clue that I was screwing myself up by doing this. And I was really, really confused with why I could not hold my energy behind the Mystery Collective. I didn't want to launch it anymore. As soon as I launched it, I shrunk down. I felt really misaligned. Like, it just didn't feel good. I started feeling full of frustration and resistance, and I'm like, okay, something's wrong. So I quietly stopped launching it because it just wasn't right. I was coming from the wrong approach, the wrong strategy, and I could just feel that it wasn't right. And on top of that, it even turned out that the timing was misaligned as well. So everything in the reflection of my environment and within me was saying, no, stop, you've got to kill it. So I sat and I chewed on that for a while, and I was just so confused and annoyed because the concept was fantastic. But the misalignment was overriding conceptually the structure that I was interested in. And the difference between launching Lux Magnetism and launching the Mystery Collective was like night and day. I went from people freaking out, wanting links, to an absolute desert, radio silence. I'm getting no feedback. I'm getting nothing back. And that's what I mean when I say I can't get away with making misaligned moves because it's too obvious when something isn't right. So fast forward to May, and I was talking to my coach, and I was thinking in terms of, well, what's a low-hanging fruit? And then I was like, you know what I could do? I could just do Tarot Reading Rebel. I know you can even tell by the way that I'm talking about it that my heart isn't in it, that my soul is totally misaligned. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. It's easy. It's low-hanging fruit. I know how to do it. I'm really good at it. Everyone loves my tarot readings, blah, 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 blah. So the entire time I'm putting together the structure of Tarot Reading Rebel, I'm like, I know this is, again, conceptual perfection. Conceptually, it was just a masterpiece. When it came to the magnetism, when it came to what does my sacral want, when it came to is my heart really in this, it was a total flatline. So what happens when I launch Tarot Reading Rebel? One, I don't want to launch it. As soon as I launched it, I wasn't excited about it. I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. Number two, radio silence. Again, money is fantastic, but my launches are bombing. And I'm like, this is just the strangest thing. So once I realized that I didn't want to launch it, I was like, I'm feeling all this resistance. This doesn't feel good to me. This was not an inspired, aligned move. This was me saying, well, I can do it. I'm good at it, so I'll do it. And it killed my magic. It killed my magnetism. It didn't work. I didn't feel good about it. And the evidence was really obvious. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead. And even though it was set and scheduled, ready to go, I decided not to move forward with it. And I decided to just cancel Tarot Reading Rebel altogether. Now, let me add one thing here. What I'm describing is not the same thing as being nervous, having a fear of rejection, or people not being interested or not getting quote unquote enough, which just so you know, there's never going to be enough because you're always going to want more. So that's a flawed premise to begin with. This had nothing to do with numbers for me. It had everything to do with me not wanting to do it. It had everything to do with it not being an aligned move. Not with my fear of rejection or fear of people not being into it. It had nothing to do with that. So I'm making this distinction really clear because this doesn't mean that as soon as you get nervous, you pull the plug on something. Nervousness and misalignment are not the same. You can be nervous and excited and curious and hold your energy for the desire of the thing that you want. That is not the same thing as feeling like an ick. The ickiness is what was coming up for me, and that was something that I just could not shake. Nerves are fine. Ick is not. If something is feeling like it's turning me off, then I know that I can't actually have that in the transmissions because they're not going to be clean. It's not going to be the caliber of frequency that I want to hold in the class, in the course, in the transmission that I'm giving. So for about 5 minutes, Jessica was really upset. She was telling me, what, people are going to judge you. Nobody's going to think you're professional. She had her things that she wanted to say, whatever. And I stood completely firm in my choice. Like, nope, I am doing the aligned thing and the aligned thing only, and that's the end of it. Like, this is the only way that this is going to work. And the errors that came up is that I wasn't in my integrity when I did the launch. I wasn't in my integrity. I wasn't in devotion to my alignment. I wasn't in devotion to my frequency. I was trying to grab something to soothe my desire to put something out. Because I do want to put stuff out. This is the thing. I want to put out offers. I want to put out content. It's so much fun for me. I love doing these things. But the way that I was doing it wasn't working because I was trying to expedite something that just didn't need to be pushed. I didn't need to like force a plant to grow. You can't do it. So that's essentially what I was trying to do, and it was blowing up in my face. So the class is canceled. I remember being in the shower one day after I canceled it. I think it was a day or two after. And I was like, I have this big block of time that would be perfect for a class. I wonder if anything is going to come up. And in all honesty, I didn't put any pressure on it. It was just a passing thought like, I wonder if. So I left it alone. And then I ended up having a conversation with the coach that I'm working with right now. And I let her know that I canceled it and it was really in the right space. And I told her, I said, what I really want, what I really, really, really want is to do a masterclass. I didn't have a topic. I didn't know what was going to come through. I didn't have any inspiration for anything in particular. But my vision was to bring the level of sophistication and the caliber of conversation that I'm normally having. I'm having with people in my life, I'm having with my one-on-one clients, but I want to bring this on a larger scale. I want there to be, I want this to be my day-to-day work. I want this to be something that is just normal and standard for me to have. Because really, this is what I do. I love talking. I love having discussions. I love giving transmissions. And this is also why podcasting is my favorite medium of free content, because I get to do this. I get to talk about the things that I want to talk about. I get to hear about all of the impact and transformation that these conversations have on other people. And this is for me where I like to adventure. This is what makes me feel like a pioneer. I'm a pioneer of the mind, the mental and spiritual realms. This is where I like to go in my life. And so being able to bring this, being able to elevate what I'm doing and just bringing more high-level conversation to more areas and more spaces and to create larger followings from this space, that is the vision. Okay. And so what ended up coming through was that essentially I was waiting for something. I was waiting for the right time, or I was waiting through having to deliver everything that I'm good at before I could actually do what I wanted. Oh, good Lord, that is such a mistake. That is such a mistake. I'm not beating myself up. It's just so clear when I look at it in hindsight, like, oh yeah, duh. No wonder I was experiencing all of that resistance. No wonder I didn't want to create. No wonder my content was suffering. No wonder I was freaking crushing it in my one-on-one containers, but everything else was falling flat. And so when I finally bridged the gap of the frequency that I hold in one-on-one spaces is really the same frequency that I want to be bringing to all of my other work, but I was contorting the containers that I was offering in order to get through the material that I thought I had to get through in order to do what I wanted, basically. And that is really the crux of this whole thing, where I realized that waiting for some arbitrary finish line or having to get through what I'm good at was the very thing that helped me correct myself into aligning to what I want to do. Ultimately, what do I want to do? What's the level of conversation and masterclass that I actually want to have? What is alive in my work right now? What is the highest caliber of content and material I can put out right now? What's the best thing that I can put out right now? And the other piece that I want to add here is that part of this mentality is scarcity. So the reason why I'm bringing up the scarcity piece is because I was experiencing resistance around material. Like, oh my God, what if I'm not prepared to deliver this transmission, even though I'm talking about it with all of my one-on-one clients? I'm living and breathing and practicing this work, and I have been for years, or this is something that's just second nature to me. But I was getting really tangled up in this story that I wasn't ready. Like I was waiting for this false sense of readiness, and it just doesn't exist because it's a practice. It never has a finish line. And the thing is, I really do launch in a way where I'm in integrity with my level of mastery over the material. So for example, when I launched Lux Magnetism, I marketed it in such a way where I was very clear on me bringing you along with me in my own calibration through a meditation series, because I ended up doing 12 different meditations that were an hour long over the course of an entire month. But I was clear about where I was at in my process and the work lining up with that. So that's a really important piece to me. I'm not going to teach something that I'm not prepared to teach. I'm not going to give a lecture or a transmission on something that I haven't integrated, that I'm not living and breathing myself. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is a fantastic standard for me to hold for myself in my work. It really is. Your level of mastery and being able to anchor into that creates a really strong foundation for whatever it is that you're providing for other people. And having transparency also helps people connect to the level of the work that you're offering. So this is something that's very important to me, except I was swinging a little bit too far on that side of the pendulum to the point where it was actually becoming a barrier. It was like, okay, yeah, you've mastered it enough. You can teach this stuff now. Good grief. So I went a little bit too far in that direction to the point where it brought up resistance, right? It was creating those pain points. And then now I'm swinging back into, oh, right, here we go. This is actually how it's supposed to feel. This is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to feel like I'm in love with my work. And almost immediately, once I claimed this for myself and I said, this is the standard that I want to hold. This is the level of fulfillment, satisfaction, pleasure. This is the vibe that I want to bleed into all of my work. The feedback that I was getting was outstanding. I mean, YouTube comments, people talking about the feeling the shift in my branding, people talking about the podcast material that has come out and how they've listened to episodes multiple times. They can't get enough. It's just, it radically transformed what I was delivering and my investment in the work. Because now all of a sudden I'm reinvigorated. I'm excited. This is what is right for me. So again, the pain was guiding me the whole time. The launches that didn't go well, the things I've had to cancel, all of that was just guiding me into feeling what is supposed to feel like my normal flow state in my work. So all of this has been very, very exciting stuff, even though in the moment it's like, what the hell is going on? This is ridiculous. This should feel a lot easier. I want this to feel easier. I want this to feel good. I want this to be exciting and expansive. And finally, I cracked it. I figured it out. So once I canceled Tarot Reading Rebel, I had that conversation with my coach. You know, we were playing around with it for a moment. The wheels started turning, and then finally, it came through this beautiful masterclass. I had everything. I had the branding down. I had the modules down. I had the topics down. It came through in a huge block of information like, yes, this is it. Let's go. And just like I described in a previous episode, I think it was the doubt episode where I was talking about writing my Eden sales page. That is exactly how this happened. All of a sudden, the right vibe was there, the music was there, the energy was there, the info was there, the words were there, the sales page just poured out of me. And it felt good, like it felt easy because of the space that I was creating from the rightness of it is really what came through. And then lo and behold, I launch it. People lose their minds. They lose their minds over this masterclass. They're excited. They're into it. They're like, you're knocking it out of the park with the branding. And again, everything clicked into place, not because of the idea, not because of the strategy, not because of any of that stuff, but because of the energy that I had behind it, the energy that I had while creating the offer, how it was delivered to the people, and then all of a sudden that frequency is what everyone wants to gobble up. The level of interest went through the roof. I got so many signups, like immediately. People were just pouring in, excited about it. And so, the other piece in all of this is my level of intentionality in what I'm going to be doing with the masterclass, even though the recording is free. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to this before June 4th, let's say, the masterclass starts on June 5th. So if you want to attend for free, you're totally more than welcome to. I will put the link in the show notes or in the description box wherever you're listening to this. And you're welcome to attend, or you can buy the replay, because I'm going into this fully with the intention. This is a paid masterclass. This is a high level conversation that we're going to be having. This is something that, if people desire to calibrate to this, they are welcome to, but it's the type of material that I want to exist in the world. So again, I'm creating the things that I want to see put out on earth, and then from that space people are able to engage with it however they will. But what I'm realizing now in doing more and more of this, in getting better at this, is that when I have something that is dying to be born, when there is something that is like, Sydney, you have to put me out, I have to do it. Because if I deviate from that, if I try to entertain things that really are not in alignment with me, it's going to be a desert. People aren't going to respond to it because they're not going to feel me. When I'm really into something, then all of a sudden it changes the game. So this is what I've been playing with. And now I have this beautiful creation that I'm going to create in a moment of time. I'm going to package it up, and it's going to exist forever. It's going to be a teaching that lives for eternity. It will never end. It will never stop. And I think that is so cool. Like, it's a time capsule. And whatever you do in your work, whether you just work with people, right? If you work with the general public, still the interactions that you have really matter. They create a ripple effect with everyone else you interact with, and they interact with, and so on and so forth. Whether you be a chef making delicious food, or a photographer capturing a moment, or a musician writing a song, or a hairdresser. And I use the cosmetology example all of the time because you're literally transforming the way people feel about themselves in real time. And no matter what you're doing, I just happen to have the gift of gab. That's the only reason why I talk so much, and I'm able to do this for a living with ease, because it's in alignment with the highest expression of my soul. But everyone has that in their own way, in their own modality. Let's say there isn't any area of life that is exempt from this type of intentionality. So, all of this to say that alignment is rewarded. Don't think about it in terms of someone or something rewarding you. It's about you reward yourself when you get into alignment, because the level of satisfaction is unlike any other. And when I create some type of stamp on earth, so for example, when I'm recording this podcast, as I'm doing this, the frequency that I'm holding, what I'm delivering, the conversation that we're having in this moment is something that is going to exist forever, but I'm creating a mark in time. I'm putting it in this package, and then I'm allowing it to move through the world. Right? People are going to share it with their friends. They're going to listen however many times they want to. They're going to get back into the vibe of this, and it's important. So the more that you act from a space of alignment, the more satisfied you're going to be in life. And then when you're making aligned move after aligned move after aligned move, more and more aligned things happen for you. And then more satisfaction, more fulfillment, more alignment, more satisfaction, more fulfillment, more alignment, more satisfaction, more fulfillment, on and on and on and on and on. And so you can imagine if you're making a series of decisions that simply don't feel good, that really aren't right, that you're in a lot of resistance to. Again, this is not about you making a quantum leap or doing something really big or having some nerves, some excitement. That's not the same thing. We're talking about what is truly not in alignment with you. What your soul is saying, fuck no to. That's what you want to listen to. So again, it takes time. You have to be able to see through your trauma. You have to be able to catch yourself when it's an old story, old paradigm, old belief. But when you get into this pocket of being able to adjust yourself and not get angry or judge yourself or beat yourself up when something falls flat or it doesn't work, then you're in a really good zone to operate from, one that is just going to be more fulfilling than the contrary. So this is just a reminder. Make your aligned choices even if they don't make sense. I would not have had the bandwidth, time, or space to do Heaven's Nectar, which is the new masterclass that I'm putting out, and it's all about pleasure, creation. We have 3 modules, so we have Sacred Hunger, Orgasmic Creation, and Eternal Overflow. And it's about the cosmic significance of pleasure, the divine significance and how to harness desire and pleasure and playing with those in order to create, in order to evolve and expand. And it's delicious. It's delightful. It is one of my favorite things I've ever created. But I would not have had the space or been able to receive that download if I was focusing on Tarot Reading Rebel, where my energy was flat and I wasn't in love with it. And my soul was fighting me and saying, no, you need to drop this. You know, something better is on the horizon. And I'm sure you know, maybe you felt this way in a relationship. You knew it wasn't right, but you didn't really want the empty space, so you stayed. Or you stayed at that shitty job and then you dropped it and all of a sudden something way better came in. You've done this before. You've seen it. It's been evident in your own life, I guarantee you. And the more you start trusting and leaning into the empty space, not being afraid, just leaning into it and making the aligned choice, you're not going to go wrong. Now, making reckless choices, just killing things for the sake of killing things or pulling the plug prematurely, right? You might need to do some troubleshooting on that. But true alignment, when you're feeling into your soul, when you're leading with that, you're not going to go wrong. The better thing is always going to emerge and it's not going to fail you. It's just not. Your soul isn't going to lead you on a wrong path. It's just not. It's impossible. It's actually going to create a massive shortcut when you're leading with soul. You get to skip a lot of the things that just cause a lot more pain when you're able to tune into this faster. And on top of that, when things don't go your way or when there's some funky energy like what was happening with my launches, now I know I'll never have to do that ever again. I spent a few months in this really weird space with my work and group containers, and now it's over. It's done. Now everything up from here on out is going to be epic. It's going to be to this new standard that I've claimed, and everything else is going to be gravy. And if there's any adjustments that I need to make in the future, it's not going to be a big deal. I'm just going to course correct, come back into alignment, and there we go. That's it. Don't stay stuck in a story around it. It's not necessary. Just keep going, keep moving. Keep going. Don't dwell on something if it doesn't work. Just take it as a gift. The fact that I canceled multiple programs and I got really confident now at just not doing anything that I don't want to do, it's changing the game. It's completely shifted my energy and my branding and the love that I have of my work. Everything is different now. So trust yourself, trust your soul. It's got your back. It knows what it's doing. Let it lead. Let it lead. Don't put your ego in the front seat, please, for the love of God. You're going to wind up in some really frustrating places if you do that. And of course, the masterclass is going to be recorded live on June 5th, 6th, and 7th. I will leave the link in the description box or in the show notes. And or if you follow me on Instagram, it'll definitely be in my bio. If you're listening to this much later, the masterclass is available for purchase. And that's a wrap. Yeah, here we are. As always, if you desire to work with me, go to onyxhealing.com. Everything that you need is there. If you'd like to get into a one-on-one container, if you want to see if I have a mastermind running at the moment, right, like at the time of this recording, Eden is open. I still have some spots available. I'm just letting the right souls move into that container, watching all of these applications roll in and just letting the right people drop into place. It is so much fun to read all of the applications. So yeah. That's it, my friends. That is all on alignment today. Maybe I'll do a follow-up on this later, as there's always more to discover and uncover with alignment and this whole topic. So, for those of you who are coming to the masterclass, I'm so excited for you to be inside. I will see you all so soon, and I will talk to you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.